שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני, ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו, שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בסכו מיום ליום ישועתו, ספרו בגויים כבודו, לכל העמים נפלאותיו, כי גדול אדוני ומהולל מאוד,
Hididai hayo. Hididai hayo. Hididai hai da 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 da. Hi da 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 da. Ya da.
The Kusker Rebbe said, a man who lived in Krakow dreamed several times that there was a treasure near a mill waiting his arrival to dig it up. He left his house early in the morning and dug diligently, but could find nothing. When the miller came, he asked him why he was digging near the mill. The man explained, and the miller cried out, "Why, I dreamed that there is a treasure in the courtyard of a certain man in Krakow," and he named the man who was digging. The man returned home as quick as he could, uncovered the treasure that was actually in his own yard all along. We so often assume that the treasures we seek are way out of reach. Yet when we take the time to look more closely at our own community, our own family, to look within ourselves, we discover the blessings have been there all along. So tonight, as we welcome Shabbat together, we know what the man from Krakow had to travel far away to discover. Our most treasured possessions are the family, the friends, the community we're part of, right here in our own courtyard. The true treasure is getting to celebrate Shabbat together. And so we begin on page 3 in our Sidurim, making ready to welcome Shabbat with light. It's my pleasure to invite up our bat mitzvah, Emma, along with her mother, Tammy, and her sister, Madison, to lead us in the blessings.
O source of light and truth.
Go try this.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lend us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter the sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love.
Light it in the flame and light the candles.
Blessed are you, Adonai. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. We're going to get a microphone for you. Okay.
We continue with the Kiddush on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon inhilanu zikam Ma'aseh Bereshit ki hu yom tehila lamikra kodesh zecher tiyah Mitzrayim Ivanu v'charta ve'atanu dashta mikol ha'amim B'Shabbat kodecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Okay. Yes, go sit down. We turn now to page 13 as we welcome Shabbat with song Ya'alo Sadai. It's on the bottom.
יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו יעלו שדי היי 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 יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו יעלו שדי היי 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 אז ירננו כל עצי אז ירננו כל עצי אז ירננו כל עצי אז ירננו כל עצי יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו יעלו שדי היי 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 יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו יעלו שדי היי 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 אז ירננו כל עצי אז ירננו כל עצי אז ירננו כל עצי אז ירננו כל עצי יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו יעלו שדי היי 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 יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו יעלו שדי היי 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 היי.
We turn to page 16 as we continue singing Zamru Ladonai V'chinor.
Yai dai 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 hi yai dai 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 yai dai hi dai 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 yai yai dai 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 yai dai hi dai 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 yai yai dai 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 Zamru l'Adonai. Zamru l'Adonai bechino. Zamru l'Adonai bechino v'chol zimra. Zamru l'Adonai. Zamru l'Adonai bechino. Zamru l'Adonai bechino v'chol zimra.
We turn now to page 20 as we make ready to welcome the Sabbath bride, singing Lecha Dodi. We sing verses 1 and 2, 5 and 9, and when we reach verse 9, Bo'i v'shalom, we rise as a congregation facing the entrance of our sanctuary, welcoming that Sabbath spirit, beckoning that Sabbath bride with our spirit, singing together as one. And whether you're here in the sanctuary with us or participating by live stream, we're so glad that you're here because we are all connected, making Shabbat together.
Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamor וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשמו תפארת ולתהילה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה ומחשבה תהילה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת פלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני Am segula, boi hala, lechadodi, likatala, pene Shabbat nekabela, lechadodi, likatala, pene Shabbat nekabela.
Turn to those around you. Wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Let them know you're glad they're here. We continue now with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 26 as we remain standing through the Shema.
Yitkadal veyitkadash shemei rabba.
Amen.
Ve'amad yiberach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei. Bechayechon uvyomechon uvchayetecho beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kariv, veimeru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach, leolam al mehamaya, yitbarach, yitbarach ve'yishtabach, vitpa'ar vitromam vitnaseh, Vitadar, vitale, vitalal, shemei de kudesha brichu, leila min kol birchata veshirata, tush vechata venechemata, damiram be'alma, veimeru, amen.
As we turn to page 28 for the Baruch Hu, it is my pleasure to call upon our Bat Mitzvah, Emma Taylor Cohen, to lead us in the next portion of our worship service.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Elam Eved. We continue on page 30. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bidvaro ma'ariv arvim b'chochma patea she'arim uvi tvuna meshanech itim umachalif et hazmanim zader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kiratzono b'rei yom v'layla galil or mipnei choshe v'choshe mipnei or Uma'avir yom umevi laila, umavdil bein yom umein laila. Adonai tzavaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch alenu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv arvim. We continue in the middle of page 32. Everlasting love, you offered us your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Achev Amo Yisrael. We continue on page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod be seated. We continue together on page 36. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידך וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתם מארץ מצרים להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen.
On the top of page 39, we read responsibly. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot. Wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
Yai dai dai yai da dai 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 yai dai 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 yai da dai yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai dai mi hamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh nora tehilot Osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zelianu ve'amru, zelianu ve'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Yai dai dai yai da dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai dai yai dai 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 yai dai 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 yai dai dai.
We continue on page 43 as we read on the bottom together. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapurei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Page 44, V'shamru.
V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We rise for the Amidah on page 46. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, at my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Lifnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. At the top of page 55, we join together. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. On page 60, we join together in the words of our prayer for peace. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever. For you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Having prayed for peace in our world, we think of those who are in need of peace, in need of healing of mind, of body, and of spirit. We think of them and whisper their names out loud now. With the names that we have said out loud in our hearts and those that are on our screen or in our order of service online, we join together in the words of Mishaberach on page 253.
Mishaberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We take a moment now for our own silent prayers.
In this week's Torah portion, Vayigash, we find Judah pleading with Joseph for his youngest brother Benjamin's life. He does not yet understand the full irony of the situation, offering himself as a slave to the very brother he sold to the Ishmaelites into slavery 20 years before. Yet perhaps on some level he does know that in order to protect his family, he must finally own his own mistakes and manage his own problems. Up until this point, he, like everyone else in the story, is trying to manipulate the situation to suit their own needs, rather than trying to understand their own place in it. Assuming others have it better, or at least not as bad, the baggage he is carrying is far heavier than the sack of provisions Joseph has given him. But in offering himself up in his brother's place, finding the courage to be the grown-up he needs to be, Judah sets the stage for reconciliation, family reunion, and healing. A little story. There was once a little girl named Rainia with a lot of trouble. Rainia heard about trouble. Her parents and grandparents talked about it all the time, but they called it tsuris. Whenever they noticed little Rainia with the big ears, as they called her, they would try to change the subject. Still, she knew trouble when she heard it. She knew worried looks, wringing hands, arms up in the air, and she knew tsuris of her own. Like what? Like ever since her baby brother had been born, no one ever picked her up unless she was hurt. Like spelling, like Brussels sprouts. But even though Rainier was little, she was smarter than the grown-ups. She didn't let her tsuris bother her. Whenever tsuris popped up, she just popped it into a bag. That's right, she didn't fret or scream or cry or complain the way grown-ups did. Rainier just crammed her tsuris into a patched-up pillowcase and tied it closed with a sash from an old dress. She had kept her troubles from bothering her for a long time that way, until now. Now, it seemed to take forever to walk the 3 short blocks to school. Rainier was already exhausted from trudging, and the day had barely begun. It was only when she looked behind her that she realized why. Ever since yesterday, when Goldie, her best friend, had become Molly's best friend instead. That bag had become enormous. Rainier's teacher was waiting for her at the class door. "Rainier, dear," she said, tapping the watch that hung on a chain around her neck. "You are 10 minutes late. Where have you been? And what is that thing you are dragging behind you?" "Oh, teacher," Rainier said, collapsing into her seat. "I'm sorry I'm late. It's nothing but trouble, I tell you." It was a phrase she had heard at home. "Trouble?" Her teacher's stern face looked surprised. "Are you telling me a child like you has troubles? You don't know the half of it, Raina answered. The whole class buzzed with argument, pouring out tales of their own surahs. Finally, the teacher clapped her hands for quiet. So you've all got a lot of troubles, have you, she said. Well, classwork can wait. This is more important. Tonight, I want you to all go home and put your troubles in a bag just like Rainia's. Don't be shy. Don't leave anything out. Tomorrow, bring your bags to school. Rainia squirmed in her seat. She didn't want to share her problems with the whole class. Those Brussels sprouts had been crammed in there for weeks. So on her way home from school, Rainia snuck behind the fish store when no one was looking and flung her bag into the trash. There, that would get rid of her problems once and for all. That evening, though, there was a knock at the door of her apartment. The fishman stood there with her poor, threadbare pillowcase dangling from one hand. Rainia, he said, handing it to her, I think you lost this today. When he saw her open her mouth, he added, I just knew it was yours. I'd recognize it anywhere. So now the bag of trouble was back, a little heavier, and smelling like fish. Rainia put the bag out on the fire escape and lay awake for a long time, wishing she herself could escape. By the time Rainia dragged her back to school the next day, her classmates' desks were piled with string bags, paper bags, cloth bags, and a few pillowcases like her own. Some children had 2 of them. Teacher, Molly was asking, what are we going to do now, get rid of them? Oh, no, dear, the teacher answered. You can't just get rid of your troubles. You're telling me, Rainia shook her head sadly as she sat down. I tried that. They just got bigger and stinkier. Exactly right, said teacher. Here's my idea. Let's open our bags and everyone can look around. Who knows? Maybe you'll find someone who wants to trade. I'd trade in a minute, thought Rainia. No one's troubles can be bad as mine. The children were already scurrying from desk to desk. Rainia looked into all the bags eagerly. There were more kinds of problems than she had ever imagined. A failed test here, a stomach ache there, someone's goldfish had died. Another's father worked so much that he hardly ever came home. Someone else's sister was sick all the time. Rainia wasn't about to trade her troubles for any of those. There was one bag left to investigate. Rainia sat down, pulled it into her lap, and peered inside. First, there was a scolding about forgotten homework. That wasn't terrible, Rainia said to herself as she looked further. Chickenpox was next, then a spelling test, then a few other things. Her face brightened. Finally, she had found a bag that she wanted more than her own. The tourist inside it was not so bad, and the bag even smelled a little familiar, like Brussels sprouts, and Rainia smoothed the front of the bag, and her breath got stuck in her throat. She had been looking into her own patched pillowcase. A few minutes later, she was done airing out the troubles inside. Her bag was very, very small now, small enough to fold up and stuff into her pocket. So, children, the teacher asked briskly, how did we do? Did you find someone to trade troubles with? Teacher, I don't mean to be disrespectful, Rainia said, but I don't think that was such a good idea. If it's all the same with you, I'd just as soon keep my own surahs. They're not nearly as bad as I thought. Soon after, her family began to wonder why little Rainia with the big ears seemed happier than she had in a long time. When they asked, she answered with a dramatic sigh, oh, I still have plenty of tourists, let me tell you. But I know how to handle them. The secret is, here she lowered her voice, they need company, just like anybody else. Take your troubles out once in a while and let them get to know someone else's troubles. That'll keep them out of your way. Try it, and you'll see what I mean. Like Rainia, Judah, in our Parsha, his life is far from easy, but he is no longer hiding from that truth. Both he and Joseph are coming to a better understanding of the complexities of family relationships and ready to own their misdeeds of the past and put the needs of others first. As Rabbi Louis John Aaron reflects, none of us are perfect, and in our own way, each of us is difficult to love. We're not objects of affection, but active agents in dynamic relationships. We need to be responsible for each other. Judah's concern for his brother Benjamin, standing accused of stealing Joseph's silver goblet, and for his father's Jacob's well-being demonstrates Judah's spiritual and emotional growth. Only a well-established but lonely Joseph and an accomplished but needy Judah could affect the reunion. The book of Genesis ends with the brothers being reconciled. Their youthful rivalries, which at one time almost destroyed them, are now ancient history as they are able to meet as mature men, dealing with the serious issues of adult life. They grew up and hopefully provide us with a model to use on our journeys toward true maturity. With so much stress and complexity in this world and in our lives right now, it's worthwhile to consider what service you are carrying around in your own bag. It could probably use a good airing out. There may be things you're able to let go of, and it could make your load lighter to bear. Amen.
We continue with Aleinu, page 283. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת כנולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. As we turn to our memorial meditation on page 289, we note with sadness the death of Natalie Levin, wife of the late Saul G. Levin, mother of Reggie and Ira Moskowitz, Ron and Rosie Levin, and Rick and Julie Levin, grandmother of Lori and Art Jacobson, and many, great-grandmother of 14 great-grandchildren, including Tyler and Caden. Private services will be held in Ohio. We also think of those who have died in this past year as we have our memorial meditation on page 289, number 2. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. We think now of those in our community and extended community who have died at this time in years past. As we mark their yard sites, we remember them. Melvin Abramson, Rose Aldone, Samuel Barshop, Ann Brenner, Erlene Burris, Leah Burstein, Herbert Charles, Irene Poland Cohen, Leslie N. Dale, Lionel K. Dalkowitz, Miriam Densky, Murray Diskin, Elvira Real Downing, Esther Eklov, Caroline Farkas, Eva Fisher, Pearl Frost, Abraham Goodman, Moisha Gurovich, Sarah Gerwitz, Betty Lindheim Hilton, William Jesse Hockersmith, E.J. Jody Hoffer, Irene Isa, Blanche Johnson, Maurice Julius, Ruth Dietz Kirby, Emily L. Amy Koppel, Cecilia Landy, Henrietta Lang, Lorraine Lauderstein, Dorothy Lane, Brenda Margie Lebo, Philip Leon, Arthur Levy, Diana Novi Lown, Dennis McCune, Francis Michael, Drew Michaels, Joseph Saul Mendez, Stanley A. Mendez, Laser Musin, Abraham Lewis Newmark, Julie Freeman Novich, Betty Osmott, James Anthon Patterson, William Panansky, Isidore Portnoy, Frida Radinsky, Charles Carsey Rado, Dorothy Ratner, Barbara Reich, Fred Reisberg, Hetty Reisberg, Joe Rabinowitz, Sybil Rosenman, Joe Rubin, Abraham Sandfield, Theo Schrader, Sydney Serrata, Ruth Setters, Elizabeth Simon, Wilma Simpson, Troy Allen Stein, Samuel Wagner Stewart, Paul Verrett, Bonnie Wallace, and Leon C. Sonny Wolf Jr. To these names, we add those who have been buried in the past 30 days, whose families are in a mourning period of Shloshim. We remember Kenneth Kenny Barry Rose, Dr. Martin Gerald Marty Rosenthal, and Joan Fries. We also think of one who has been buried this past week, whose family is in a mourning period of Shiva. We remember Jean H. Lipsett, mother of Dr. Henry, Hank, and Ann Lipsett. With all of these names and those which are in our hearts each and every day, we join together, rising as one community for Kaddish Yatom, page 294. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon u'vyomechon u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ulmei almaya, yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha b'richu, La'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. It is my honor to call forward Corey Palmer, representative of our Board of Trustees, to deliver tonight's announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. Want to wish Mazel Tov to Emma Taylor Cohen and her parents Tammy and Jerome Cohen, and grandparents Michaeline Cohen, Shelley and Perry Fulmer, and Megan and Peter Rutledge on Emma's Bat Mitzvah. We hope you can join us tomorrow at 10:30 when we will continue to celebrate Emma's becoming a Bat Mitzvah as a community. Thanks to Emma Cohen, Tammy Cohen, and Madison Cohen for blessing the candles. Many things are happening at the temple. On December 12th, we have Rise to Hunger. You can still help us meet our goal, which is going to be to hopefully exceed 20,000 meals. And that's going to be on Sunday, December 12th at noon here at Temple. If you see your order of service for the link or on the Temple website. December 16th at 7 p.m., we have another in our series of courageous conversations discussing the book Cast, The Origins of Our Discontents. This is with Rabbi Nathan and Pastor Kenneth Kemp from Antioch Missionary Baptist Church, and they are leading the discussion. The session will be at 7 p.m., and again, that's in your weekly email, also on the website. December 19th at 9 a.m. at the San Antonio Food Bank, all ages are invited to volunteer to work in their garden. Social distance, mask, and registration is required. Information about these and many other opportunities can be found in the weekly email and in the Shabbat order of service. Shabbat Shalom.
We end our service as we began, yes, with a beautiful nigun that was composed by Michael himself.
Yep.
So sing along
Sing
as
along.
you pick it up.
Yai, yallai, dai, dai, yallai, dai, dai. Yai, yallai, dai, dai, yallai, dai, dai. Dee, dai, hi, yo. Dee, dai, dai, yo. Dee, dai, hi, hi, da, 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 li, da, da, da. Hi, da, 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 da. Yai, yai. Dai, yallai, dai, dai, yannai, dai, dai. Hi, yai, dee, dee, dai, yai, yannai, dai, dai. Hi, yai, yai, yai. Hi, yai, dee, dee, dai. Hi, yai, hi, yo. Dee, dee, dai, hi, yo. Dee, dee, dai, hi, yai, da, 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 li, da, da, da. Hi, da, da, li, da. Yai, yai. Hi, and I, da, hi, yai, da, da, yai.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.